I did. I brought black
Good morning.
Morning.
My name is Mo. I am the president of the fellowship for this year. Come, whoever you are, holding various beliefs, whatever your skin color, whatever your age or gender identity, whatever your abilities, whomever you love. You are welcome in this, our religious home. I extend a warm welcome to any visitors and guests this morning. If you would like, we invite you to take a moment to introduce yourself. Candy wants
My name is Wayland.
Hi, Waylon.
Welcome. Glad you're here.
Glad you're here.
I'm playing around Lego, and I love how my parents.
And who's your friend?
Marcy.
Hi, Marcy.
And Marcy is 2, and I'm 5. My father and my sister.
We are very glad that you're here this morning. For any adults that might be visiting, if you haven't yet, we hope that you'll give us some information for our guest registry, which is out here. Thank you for sharing your resources with us for our offertory later in the service. Now I invite you to join with me in reciting our congregational affirmation, which is right here.
Love is the spirit of this fellowship, and service is its prayer. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
Our worship here this morning is Shari.
Thank you, Mo. Good morning.
Morning.
This is so cool. We were talking about 5 minutes ago, there were people in that corner, this corner, that corner, this corner. It's empty in the middle. So thanks for coming and chilling in the middle. Being a home, good, friendly crowd to look at this morning. We will begin our worship service as we always do with the lighting of our chalice, which is a symbol of our religious heritage. I will light the chalice and then ask you to join me in saying our affirmation that will be printed, and then we will rise up together. When I come back and sound the note, we'll rise up together and sing through twice. Rise up, O flag.
This is our chalice of love and light, uniting us all by day and night.
And while you're standing up, let's share the light within by greeting folks nearby.
My husband Multicolored artist glasses that I
It trips over your purse, so it takes all of this people off of it.
Now is the time that our service with Shari of a story for all ages. And I brought one in this morning and Adrian said, oh, that's my favorite. So Adrian is going to read our story for all ages this morning. We invite any children who want to see the pictures, or youth who want to see the pictures, come on in, come down front.
So good morning. This actually was a story that I used to read to my son when he was little, and I saw it sitting there, and I thought, oh, I'm so excited. It's called I Was So Mad. By one of my favorite authors. I wanted to keep some frogs in the bathtub, but Mom wouldn't let me. I was so mad. I wanted to play with my little sister's dollhouse, but Dad wouldn't let me. I was so mad. There's a theme. I wanted to play hide and seek in the clean sheets, but Grandma said, no, you can't. I was just so mad. I wanted to water the garden, but Grandma said, no, you can't. So I decided to decorate the house. Grandpa said, no, you can't do that either. No, I agree. Dad said, why don't you play in the sandbox? Mom said, oh, I didn't want to do that. Mom said, why don't you play on the slide? I did not want to do that either. Well, you know why. Because he was mad, that's why. I wanted to practice my juggling show instead, but Mom said, no, you can't. Something about juggling eggs that just doesn't seem right. No. Okay. I wanted to tickle the goldfish, but Mom said, leave the goldfish alone. You won't let me do anything I want to do, I said. I guess I'll run away. That's how mad I was. So I packed my wagon with my favorite toys, and I packed a bag of cookies to eat on the way. Then I walked out the front. Oh, I couldn't show you that. There it is. Hello, darling. Getting the wagon ready for the runaway. Big break. Then I walked out the front door, but my friends were going to the park to play ball. Can you come too? They asked. No. Can I go? And Mom said I could. I'll run away tomorrow if I'm still so mad.
Children, if you will stand up and help us. Thanks, Matilda. So everybody, that's the today, Layla and Marcy, if y'all want to come around and look at everybody. We stand here and look at it and hold our hands like this. So we're gonna do our affirmation. We are
Unitarian Universalist, people of open minds, loving hearts, and helping hands.
Good job, you really make sense. And now if the grown-ups can form the aisle, I'll push the buttons, and we'll have music and sing them out.
Beneath our arms, we shelter you. You warm our hearts as you pass through. May our love guide you as you go, to help you learn and help you grow.
Someone help me, I have to look it up. Principles and purposes in the back of our hymnal. Look in the back of the hymnal, I think it's 5 something. What are we looking for? Principles and purposes. It's a rephrase of our principles and purposes. This is kind of like we used to do Bible drill, so I was a Baptist.
I have so many Bible drills.
Sure.
Keep the number.
I'm looking for it.
Oh, okay.
It's
All right.
not, you're gonna make it.
It's not 507. It's not 537 or 537.
It's not that.
Not 547.
Are you sure it's in this book?
Yes.
Not 567.
What was the title? It's the principles and purposes for all of us, our 7594.
Okay, so we got it.
594. 594?
You get the prize.
Yes, thank you very much. 594 in the back of your hymnals.
I'm never gonna win a Unitarian Bible drill. Hymnal drill for
So I will read the old and ask you to respond with the, in italics. And these are our principles and purposes for all of us. We affirm and promote the inherent worth and dignity of every person.
We believe that each and every person is important.
We affirm and promote justice, equity, and compassion in human relations.
We believe that all people should be treated fairly.
We affirm and promote acceptance of one another and encouragement to spiritual growth.
We believe that our churches are places where all people are accepted and where we keep on learning together.
We affirm and promote a free and responsible search for truth and meaning.
We believe that each person must be free to search for what is true and right in life.
We affirm and promote the right of conscience and the use of the democratic process.
We believe that all people should have a voice and vote about things that concern them.
We affirm and promote the goal of world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all.
We believe that we should work for a peaceful, fair, and free world.
We affirm and promote respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part.
We believe that we should care for our planet Earth.
May it be so. Let's reflect for a moment on these principles before we hear from our 3 speakers. This morning we're going to hear from 3 UUs, something about their journey and how we got to be here now. So we're going to hear from May Armstrong, and then we're going to hear from Karen Lambie, and then I'm going to come back and share it. May, come and share with us.
Hi everyone, I'm May Armstrong, and I first heard about Unitarian Universalism when I was in college. And I had a friend named Maya who just had the most beautiful spirit and was so kind and caring to everyone that she met, to the people who were kind to her and then to the people who maybe weren't so kind to her. And she seemed to express and give the same values and love to every single person. And I loved the way that she treated people and how she practiced care. I believe there's at least 2 different types of care. There's care as an idea, and then there's care as a verb. We can say that we care about someone and tell them we love them and tell them all the time how much we care and appreciate them, but that's different than actually taking action and caring for them, thinking about maybe what they want and need and taking action accordingly. And she did this, and I asked her, because we were in college and with a whole bunch of hooligans and everyone's acting like hooligans, and here she is acting like this, and I was like, how are you the way that you are? And she's, among other things, probably, she said, well, I was raised Unitarian Universalist, and they taught us these values, and they taught me to practice these values, not just to think them, not just to hold them, but to embody them in practice. And I kind of tucked that in my back pocket for a while, and then fast forward, I was living in Brunswick, Georgia, working a seasonal job, and I loved my job and I loved the people I worked with. We lived and worked together, lived in a really tiny cabin, but that was kind of my world, was hanging out with them and working with them and going to the gym, but I didn't really connect with my community, and working seasonal jobs kind of has that nature. It's like 6 months here, 6 months there, and I did that for about 4 years. But I was really wanting to connect with the community, so I remembered what Maya said, and I wanted to connect with a community of people, specifically who kind of thought like me, people who wanted to live in the solution rather than the problem. There's a lot of talk about what's the problems of the world and what's going on, so I was really seeking with people who maybe spoke about the concerns but then did something about it, no matter how small, but just took action and lived in that solution rather than saying, there's all these problems, but what are we to do? So I was looking for a group of people who live in the solution, and I found that there is a Unitarian Universalist church in Brunswick, where I was living. And I worked in wildlife and biology and habitat and ecosystem restoration, and I was really getting into birding at the time. I loved birds. And the service that day was led by Jane Park, and she was speaking about spirituality and connecting with the world through bird song. And she played an audio of the birds she heard that morning and spoke about the spirit of just kind of spirituality, generally speaking, spirituality and the love that we can connect to in the world of bird song. And I thought, who told you I was coming? Like, who told you I was going to be here today? It very much spoke to me. And then I fast forward a few years, and I found that community there. And I got a taste of what UU had to offer. I didn't dive in yet, but I knew it was there. I knew that resource was there for me when I was ready, when I needed it. And then fast forward, I moved to Twin City, Georgia, and bought some land and was developing, working on that, working on living off grid there and setting up those systems. And 2 years in, I had built a lot, but I hadn't built that community, and I found myself really struggling to continue to live in that place without being connected to a community of people who want to live in the solution. And I love my neighbors. I very much care for them, and they care for me as a bird. We all look out for each other, but I still wasn't finding that kind of community of people living in the solution. I was really kind of at my wit's end, and I was thinking about moving to Athens, Georgia. There was a job that was in my field, and it was a good job. And And I thought about, I built so much here, but maybe I wasn't gonna be able to find that here. And the job was about to open up, but I thought to myself, like, I gotta try, really try to make that here. Like, I've talked a lot about it, but have I really tried? Have I really been seeking that? And so, same as before, I looked up Unitarian Universalist churches. And I saw that there's one 45 minutes away in Statesboro, Georgia. And I attended a service, and it was exactly what I was looking for. The people here in this room, online, in this fellowship, live in the solution. And like a lot of people, I grew up in church where they shared a lot about values, but I didn't see it in action. And I heard kind of the direct opposite. I'd be at church and they talk about loving thy neighbor and treating everyone with respect. And on the way home, I'd hear about something not so nice about an unhoused person. And I was like, but we just heard this, and they just said this. So it was very confusing to me. And I didn't really identify with that. And in this room, I saw people who discussed a problem or a concern and then took action and then built a group about that cause or group of people or whatever it was that they cared for, and then they did something about it. And we came together about it, whatever it may be, in honor of it or in support of a group of people or in promotion of a cause. And I think it was maybe Martha I talked to first, who talked to me about membership. And this is my first time at this church. And she said, well, you can be a member. A lot of people, you can think on it, take your time, but I'm just letting you know, the signing of the book is next week. I said, yes. She said, you don't have to sign the book then. You can think on it, just so you know that is happening next week, and it's once a year. But I said, absolutely, I'm in. And she kind of seemed like maybe taken aback a little bit, like I was fully committed because I knew that these were the people I wanted to spend my Sundays with. These were the people I wanted to take action with, and to have my community here. And ever since then, I'm very grateful for that this group exists, that Unitarian Universalist as an organization exists, that they embody the values and are accepting of all people. And I'm so grateful to have found this group, and that I did stay, and that I still get to live out my dream on my land and live out my principles here in this room.
Thank you, Ames. Karen, will you come and share with us? Karen Lambie is going to share next.
Good morning, everybody. When I was told I was going to be on panel, I thought we would be sitting on the stage together. I didn't know I would have to be standing up here behind the lectern by myself. But anyway, that's quite all right. I was invited here, this has been, several years ago now. I was invited here to speak on the issue of human trafficking, and most specifically on the issue of child sex trafficking. That's kind of my specialty, if you want to call it that. That's what I'm very passionate about. And I'm still doing that, and I go, wherever anybody asks me, I will go and speak. So anyway, I came here, and I was asked if I could stay for a few minutes after the service, and I said sure. So I ended up I I had to stay for the whole service. And actually, I would have done that anyway, but I'm so glad that I did. And I had a chance to read the principles, which is what we went over this morning. And it was the principles that really resonated with me. And I thought, gosh, this is me. This is how I am striving to live my own life. And so I started coming to church on Sundays here. And actually, I brought my husband with me the very next Sunday. And there were no cars in the parking lot. So I thought, what's going on? So I got up to the door and there was a note on the door that everybody was at Jane Page's house for a luncheon or something, and that's where they were having the service. Well, at that time, I didn't know where Jane Page lived. So Tom and I ended up just leaving, but we came back the next Sunday. And I just kept coming back. My husband goes to a different church, but he loves UU, and he loves all of the people who come here. And so I thought, you know, all of you are like-minded. We're all like-minded. And I wanted to be with other like-minded people. And so I ended up joining the church. I haven't been here for a while. I got the perfect word from Tish this morning, who's sitting in front of me. I have been in hibernation for a while. So, but I do, I love all of you, and I do miss being here. And so that essentially is why I joined UU. And I'm surprised you all still have my name tag. But I'm so grateful that you do, that you haven't given up on me, because I have not given up on you.
All right.
I do want to start coming back more regularly. And so I thank you for your attention very much.
Thank you, May. Thank you, Karen. And we will stay after again. Talk back, but now we call it after notes. So we usually have 3 people on the panel. So I thought about, and I've been here a long time. Many of you have heard some of my stories about why I'm a UU. But I thought of 3 stories I might share briefly this morning that some of you've heard, but some of you probably haven't. I was told once upon a time the way to share a message, if you want people to be able to hear it and take it in, is to do 3 things. Tell you what I'm going to tell you, and then tell you, and then tell you what I told you. So this is the telling you what I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you 3 short stories about my identity as a UU. And the first story is a mistaken identity story. The second story is recognizing my identity. And the third is claiming my identity. So that's what I'm going to tell you. Ready? It's a perfect setup, the stories that y'all shared this morning, because as often happens, there are parallel values that we have, the parallel experiences. The very first time I attended a Unitarian Universalist fellowship service was way back in the middle 90s. I saw a notice in the Statesboro Herald. We still have a notice in the Statesboro Herald church calendar what our program is going to be each week. Back then, UU only met, every other 2 Sundays a month through the academic year. Like I remember, way back, that's how it was. But this Sunday, there was gonna be a talk at the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship, which met at the Botanic Gardens at that point in the Bland Cottage. There was gonna be a program by a woman with whom I went to high school. I recognized her name. And she was gonna share a story about how she came from west to east and back again. So I was interested in hearing that. And it said that it was going to be at the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Statesboro. I didn't know anything about that, but I was already a student of A Course in Miracles. And some of my Course in Miracles literature that I got talked about Course in Miracles classes going on in Unity fellowships. Unity denomination often supported that. I mixed it up. I thought I was going to a place that supported the Course in Miracles. But I showed up even because I wanted to go and hear what she had to say. And then I got there and realized it was the UU fellowship and very much enjoyed her talk. Which brings me to number 2 story about recognizing identity. Like Karen, when I got there and I read our principles and purposes, we value the inherent worth and dignity of every person, and then that interdependent web of all existence of which we're a part. That's me. I recognized I was in the right place when I read that. The other thing that I recognized about my identity, at that point in time, I was an active member at the Pittman Park Methodist Church. A lot of good people there still, I love them. Support things they do. And I had been there for about 10 years and was very active. The Methodists rotate ministers kind of in and out. And the minister we had at that time was someone I experienced as enjoying coming into the building and standing up at his raised pulpit and handing down information. And my perception was that that person had no interest in my reaction or my opinion or anything I had to say. I was to come in and write my check, and at any rate, one particular minister, that was the experience I was having. But I was really in love with my Sunday school class. My husband Rick and I had helped start a Sunday school class called the Faith Meets Life Sunday School class. And I loved my Sunday school class. So I kept going to that Sunday school class. But when I went to the UU that day, I left Sunday school early and went across to UU and heard my friend talk. After she talked, there were some announcements, we broke up, and some folks left, some folks went to the kitchen and got a cup of coffee, and then they came back, and they pulled the chairs in a circle, and we all sat in a circle, and everyone's voice was welcome. We had talk back. We had afterthoughts. We had a discussion of what the speaker had to share with us. But it wasn't the speaker handed down their truth and left. They were willing to discuss it, to share it, to talk about it. And anyone there could share theirs in that circle. So that was the second. That's my story number 2B portion, was recognizing that meant a need for me to be in a place where my voice mattered, where everyone's voice mattered. So that's story 2A and B about principles and talk back and recognizing my identity. And then the third, claiming my identity. I continued. I walked along. Long-timers will remember, I kept going to Pittman Park, but when near the end of the Sunday school hour, when the folks in the class who were in choir would get up to leave to go get robed for Sunday morning church, I slipped out too and got in my car and drove across the highway and came to UU. And that walked along for a couple of years like that. It was challenging, but it was hard to leave the church where my husband and my daughter were happy. The older girls were gone by then, but Rick and Tara and I, all three went to church together there. And they weren't ready to make a change. So I kind of walked both sides there for a while. I had a friend, some of you old-timers might remember Holly Alley, David and Holly Alley. Holly was the first, they were married. And they were members of that Sunday school class. And good friends. Holly was diagnosed with leukemia and got sicker quickly. And I got fairly close to her while she was in the hospital the last time. And when Holly died, the obituary listed her as a member of Pittman Park Church. And when I went to her funeral, the eulogist referred to her as a member of the Pittman Park Church. And that was a little puzzling to me, because in my conversations with her, she had shared she was not a Christian, that she was not going to join the church because she didn't believe the same thing her husband did, but she was happy to be part of the community. So it distressed me a little that she was claimed after the fact. I talked to David, and he was okay with it. He said, you know, there were private conversations in the hospital. How do I know she didn't make a conversion? He was okay with it. So I had to be okay with it for her. But I went home the night of that, after I talked with David, and I told my husband, Rick, if I die tonight, I'm a Unitarian. So, and that was December the 7th. I actually came and signed the book. Teresa was there, Martha was there. So I've been officially on the board as a UU since December 7, 1997. I'm very pleased to still be here and be part of this crowd. Thank you all for your attention. For all three of us, we will do afterthoughts afterwards. But now we'll proceed with the service. And of course, the next thing that we do is share our gifts and tithes to support the work of the church. So I will pass the plate and remind you, anything that is not designated as a pledge, I'm looking to see.
Shari, it's restoring the breach for March.
Thank you, thank you. So for March, restoring the breach. Have anything you put in there that's not part of a pledge, we'll go to restoring the breach. Wonderful organization. Can you tell us what that is? Lachey Campbell, she does tutoring, she does all kinds of whatever is needed in the community. They have showers for mothers who need things for new babies. A lot of good things going on. Thank you. Thank you. These gifts are received and appreciated. And now is the time of the service for the sharing of joys and concerns. Anything on your heart this morning that you'd like to share with this community, you're invited to do so. We're reminded that we are live on Facebook. So if you need to speak privately with me or Michael afterwards, or reach out to Samara by phone or email, that is another option available. But if you have a joy or that you'd like to share now or a concern, you can come and light a candle or place a stone in the water. Please do so.
I have a joy, and it's a response to what we just heard. Probably this is more appropriate for afterthoughts, but I can't contain myself. First of all, I would like to say to Shari, I do remember those days when we met twice a month. We met every other Sunday. And then the board started thinking maybe we should go full force ahead and have 4 weeks a month. I thought it was impossible, but we decided somehow to do it. I think it was probably a bit of a leap of faith. And so we went to 4 weeks a month, and here we are. I never thought we would make it this far, and that's a huge joy for me personally and for this community and for all of us. And then secondly, I have to tell the story in response to May's story, that as membership chair for several years, and it's just also just somebody, as we all should be, interested in growing our conversation and having new members, our congregation, and having new members, that I really remember the day she came. I remember it extremely well. And the story is, as she told it, she came in and she said, after she sat through the service, she said, I would like to join. And I was so shocked, and she probably read the shock on my face. But I kept saying, are you sure you don't want to think about this? And she even replied to me, and I'll never forget this, she said, is that okay for me to join? And I said, yes, that would be just fine. And so I think of May as one example of membership. She comes in and she joins instantly. And the other example, of course, course, is Donna Jones, who came and sat right where she's sitting at this moment for 16 years, and she never joined. And finally, I approached her. I said, you know, Donna, have you ever thought about joining and becoming a member? And she said, well, okay. So these stories also bring me great joy. And to Karen, I would simply say, I can assure you that we will never give up on you, or anybody, that we hope that we're here for everybody and for ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you. So the joys and concerns. I have to say something that's been on my brain and in my heart since I heard. I think we're all missing Janice. For those who haven't heard, Janice Cawthorn passed away. After I lost my final biological grandparent, I came in the Sunday after, and Janice asked how I was doing, because she always did. And I said, well, even though we weren't close, my final biological grandparent just passed away, and that's kind of hit me hard. And she said, oh, really? And I said, yeah, my grandmother just passed, and that was the last of my 4 grandparents. And she said, well, I'm certainly old enough, so if you want a surrogate grandmother, I'll be happy to be your surrogate grandmother. So that morning, Janice became my surrogate grandmother. And so I'm without a grandmother again. And I feel so bad because I've been so sick recently that I wasn't able to go visit her right at the end. But fortunately, Ren, Sherry's sister, was able to facilitate us talking when she went and talked to her right there about 2 weeks prior to her passing. And we were able to send selfies back and forth, and Ren helped us text back and forth and was passing my messages on to Janice, and it was a pretty good day for her that day, and so she was able to communicate pretty well, and Ren was typing for her, so I did get to say a few things to her before she passed, but the last time I saw her in person was at the No Kings protest last year, and she was able to get out of the house for the first time in a while, and one of her family members brought her in her wheelchair, and she saw me sitting there in my walker and all that, because it was kind of a high pain day for me as well, and but I was gonna make it, and she said, well, I think I found the disability section. And so she sat there next to me, and we sat on the curb holding our signs and chanting. And that was the last time we hung out together in person before she had to move into the home. So I'm gonna miss her, but as I always say in times like this, Terry Pratchett says that as long as you speak someone's name, they are never truly gone. So I know that we here at the UU will continue to speak her name and keep her alive with us. And much thanks to the Borough Pride people for starting the fund in her name. That's a big help, and I wanted to shout that out as well. So anybody who's got a little extra cash, please give to that fund and help keep her memory alive in that way. So here's the Janice.
Hey, Shari, I just got a message from David Mooney. He says, my joy is that I am in the USA.
Oh, I
Visiting family at Oak Island, North Carolina.
This way.
Hey, David. So seriously, hopefully you can get down to Statesboro. Let us know. Maybe put you up. So yesterday, Mo and I and Jane, and then we met up with Clint and Early at an event at the UU Church in Savannah about singing the resistance and learning some protest songs to sing at March 28th, No Kings. So the joy is not just that learning, but being with like-minded people and singing was just such a wonderful gift for me. I just can't even begin to say what an amazing gift it was to be there and be in song and learning these protest songs. So what a wonderful, just a wonderful experience. Thank you.
That was a great picture on that.
Hi, I'm May, and my joy this morning is to be able to share with you all my story and my adventure to UU and forward, but also for my friends and family who supported me, but leading up to this day. I'm very, very nervous and terrified of public speaking, and I'm a little bit of a joy that it's over. I'm really happy to have been a part of it, and I'm joyous for and grateful for, especially my father, who we spent 45 minutes teaching how for him to join virtually because he lives in Atlanta, and that is care as a verb. I think 45 minutes of tech training and writing down all the notes to be able to see. So I'm really grateful for my friends and family supporting me and for all of you.
We're not public, we're family. I have a report from Paul Ziegler. Rebecca continues to improve. She is out of the hospital and living with him in Statesboro. He said send good thoughts and love to her and him. And there's a card out back. Please sign it. The card we signed before, some other facility didn't get it to her. If you'll sign another one, I'm mailing it directly to Paul's house. So, and if you have Rebecca's number, she has her cell phone again, and is happy to hear from folks she knows. If you don't have the number but know her, you have to be sure to do that. Other joys or concerns? All right. Another candle. For all those who need us and don't know about us, may we be more bold in speaking the name of Unitarian Universalism, so folks who need us find their way here. May it be so. Join me in moments where we pause and remember and hold sacred all that has been shared here this morning. And remember what a privilege it is to have a place where it's sacred space to come and share our vulnerabilities, our truths, our joys, our fears. May we remain tender and soft and open to one another and to the concerns of the world. May we be brave as we reach out to one another. May it ever be so. Amen. And blessed be. We have a recording of Spirit of Life, and I will invite you to sing with me, please.
Extinguish this flame, and not light of truth, the warmth of community, or
now is the time to share announcements. The first announcement, I want to say thank you to Mike and to Kathy and to who all made this happen.
Boy, John and Chris.
Yes,
Sorry,
everyone.
I ran out of, I'm having trouble talking. Thank you, Kiki. And Siren also. And to be honest, it was a group effort. The whole church had a hand in it.
Yes, wonderful. Thank you, Mike. So, we've been struggling with some tech issues that we see on the wall, and isn't this a wonderful improvement?
Absolutely.
Right. So everybody here, make it happen. Okay, other announcements to share. Well, I know we've got one. You want to share, or shall I?
Go for it.
So TJ, who was here last week, tall, redheaded TJ, asked us specifically to be sure all of you knew there is another No Kings March rally scheduled, March the 28th, the same date it will be happening all across the country. The one here will begin at the Louetta Moore Building at 11 o'clock. They're gathering there at 11 o'clock and marching from there up Northside Drive along 301, along 80, and then down 301 to the courthouse square. And they'll make signs, waving traffic. So all that'll be going on Saturday, March the 28th, and we're all invited to participate. For those who are aware, there's also going to be Green Fest. They were both scheduled long in advance, and neither could be changed. Green Fest is happening downtown, but it won't be on East Main Street. It'll be one block over on Vine Street. That'll be a cool event too, and it's from 1 to 5, so you could do both. That's an energy. And the Green Fest this year is going to be a cycle celebration, so we're encouraging everybody to join Unitarian and other groups working to try to make Statesboro safer for bikers and walkers. So come out from both 1 to 5 on Vine Street and 11 till 2, Louetta Moore and the courthouse. What other announcements do we have to share?
So just to let everybody know, my heart support group is meeting tonight at 6 o'clock over at Trinity Episcopal. If you're interested in getting involved in helping some of the folks that have been impacted by current policies around immigration, please do join us. We'd love to have you there.
The board meeting tomorrow night on Zoom.
That's at 7, yes.
7.
And the STA meeting, the medieval group that I'm part of, got moved from last weekend to today at 2:30. We'll be meeting in the library. We will not come in here so the choir can have their practice and everything. But if you're ever interested in finding out what we do, all ages group, everybody's invited. Anybody under 18 needs to be with a responsible adult. So.
Yeah, I'd like to, tomorrow night is the monthly Art Association meeting, the Statesboro Regional Art Association at 6:30 at Roxy Rimley. And everybody's an artist, so everybody's invited.
You could be a bad
So I think no one signed up for refreshments, but several of us knew it, and so there's lots of different hodgepodge, including, many of you know that Chris is a cook, a really good cook.
Chef.
He also
He's a
is
chef. He's a chef.
a chef, thank you. Yes, Chef Chris also happens to have someone in the household who bakes beautifully, so we have some home-baked muffins also available this morning, so thank you, Chris. And everybody, let's go get something to eat, to nibble, and then come back and sit in a circle and hear, discuss more. Thank you.